more you get out of your comfort zone, the more comfortable you learn to get.
Whoa, 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 get out the way, get out the way, get out the way, yeah. Yeah. Get out the way, get the fuck up out my way, yeah. Yeah. You either with me or against me, ho.
My name's AJ Roland. I'm raised here in Los Angeles, and we're here at Hilltop Coffee and Kitchen. The specific moment that we decided to start Hilltop is funny. So we own the Parlor on Melrose, and we were working on a new project in Santa Monica, going inside of a beautiful hotel right across the street from the pier. Raised the money, leased out the space, did all the plans, went through the hell of an entitlement process. I don't know if you know about the city of Santa Monica, but it's very difficult to do business there. And long story short, the day before we were supposed to start construction, some legal issue happened with the hotel, and I got a forwarded email that said FYI, and it was basically saying this project is on pause indefinitely. And we're, a couple $100,000 in, a year's worth of time, going to all these hearings, all these bullshit meetings, and for some reason it wasn't even like, it was like, oh, okay. Like normally you would react to that. So I'm on the board for LA Southwest College, and it's a community college down in South Central. And every time I'm driving, that night, the evening that I got that forwarded email, I had a board meeting. So I'm driving to the board meeting, and I'm starving. And every time I'm driving to this meeting, I've forgotten to eat lunch or something, entrepreneur life. And I'm constantly reminded about how there's just not very many things that I would eat in the areas that I'm driving through to get to this meeting, which is predominantly underserved, low-income communities. So when I first moved here, I was born in Detroit. When I first moved here, my first 10 years, I lived in Inglewood. My partner Yanni also grew up around this area. I was like, Yanni, why do we keep focusing on these areas that are, super competitive? The customers aren't, they're very wishy-washy. The high rents, right? And it's like the longevity. You're lucky if you make it to the first 5 years, alive. Yeah. It's like, I feel like there's an opportunity in these areas that, that just don't have anything, right? I mean, from a business standpoint, you're looking at lower rent costs, little to no competition for what we would want to bring to the area. It's predominantly fast food options, or people, mom and pops that do a good job, but it's a very particular type of food. I'm like, what if we created a concept that we're accustomed to when we go to places, when we visit places like the West Side, Venice or Santa Monica, or if we go and hang out in West Hollywood. So, I'm very familiar with this area. We're in View Park, Windsor Hills. Growing up around this area, knowing a lot of people, I always realized, where do you guys go to eat? And they say, well, we have to drive all the way to Culver City or the marina to get a bite, to get lunch, or we spent a bunch of money on Postmates. So we were like, what? We started thinking about where would we go? And so we started looking for some spaces, and I started thinking about what kind of concepts. And whenever I'm not in my office working, where am I spending the majority of my time? I'm lucky enough to have a Soho House membership. I'm fortunate enough, and the majority of my time is let's meet up for coffee or juice or something like that. And these coffee shop concepts are on every single block. You said it when you first came to visit. You goes, opening up a coffee shop in LA sounds like the stupidest idea ever. Yeah. But you start thinking about, well, if I'm spending the majority of my time and my meal money or my per diem or my stipend from my lunches are in these types of venues, and then started to think about what these places meant for me, right? It's a place that fosters community, it cultivates creativity. I could walk around Soho House, I see Luke 1 out of 2 times, right? We'll run into each other, have a conversation, leave with some form of inspiration, and that's just becomes part of your daily commute. But then we started thinking even deeper. We're like, when you look at culture and you look at what drives the world, and you look from our music to our fashion, a lot of this stuff originates in lower income urban environments that just aren't. It's not the ability for it to foster. And by the time it hits mainstream, that's when cornrows become boxer braids. That's when all these things that were once seen as like not cool become super poppin' because a Kardashian wears it or something like that. So, but the idea is like, how do we apply a mission-driven idea? How do we create something that we can eat in every single day? A place that we would want to go and visit. So if we can create a space, whose core offering is healthier, conscious comfort is what we call it. But then you also have healthy options, which is pretty few and far between in areas like we are in right now. I think that a great example is the one that I just used. One of the more recent failures was, we were working on this concept. It was going to be this great bar idea, in a high traffic area in Santa Monica. Thought it was going to be great. It was the natural progression of what we had already had, right? So we built a pretty successful institution, if you will, for sports viewing here in LA at the Parlor. And we went on to, work naturally. You want to grow and you want to scale up your business and create more concepts. And you go through this process where you're not getting paid, right? You're going to city hearings, you're investing all this money in consultants and legal fees and structures and architects, and to get an email that just says, hey, FYI, this isn't happening anymore, and nobody gives a shit. And you're sitting there, and you have two options, right? You're like, oh, this really sucks. I'm gonna call all my friends. I gotta tell my investors. I gotta do this and I gotta do that. None of it's your fault. But it's just the luck of the draw, right? That's what kind of happened. Somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed in a position of power and says, nope, not today. And you're kind of sit there like weighing your options out. And I think for one of the first times, usually I think the more you do stuff, especially the more risk you take, the more you get out of your comfort zone, the more comfortable you learn to get, right? It's not that you're not going to fall down again. It's that you just get up quicker than you did before. A breakup, you could have broke up with a girl and then not been able to get over it for 2 years, but the next time you get dumped, it takes you 2 months. Next time it takes you 2 weeks. Next time it takes you 2 days, and then eventually it hopefully takes you 2 seconds where you're like, all right, not for me. But if that didn't happen, quite honestly, it wasn't something I was totally excited about. I just did it because it felt like it was the right thing to do and move forward. Then I probably wouldn't be here. I think the most recent proud moment was when we had opened this place. You guys were here. We opened here. It's been 6 weeks, right? The day that we opened, we conceptualized this about a year ago. Opened the doors about a month ago. And when it finally opened, somebody asked me at the end of the Friends and Family event, the opening event that we had, he goes, how do you feel about it? Like, is it everything you wish for? I'm like, you know what? It actually is. Because as an entrepreneur, when you have your big idea, right, it's you bust out your pen and paper, you write everything down, you talk about how it's going to look like, what it's going to be, and then by the time it actually comes to fruition, if it comes to fruition at all, it's completely it's not what you expected it to be. So when somebody had asked me like, hey, how do you feel about it? I'm like, you know what? This is exactly what I pictured. This is exactly what we pictured. When Yanni and I wrote this, put the pen to paper, this is what we want to accomplish. This is our mission. This is our purpose. This is what's going to be on the menu. This is who's going to be there. This is the music we're going to play. These are the specific friends that are going to be here. And then being here and standing right out here, looking inside, and you see, looking at, it was like, we created this, right? It's an art. Creating anything. It's like, you don't have to be a musician. You don't have to be an actor. These traditional artists, being an entrepreneur is the ultimate form of art, because you're the producer, you're the visionary, you're the human resource. Like you have to pick all the talent and who's all the people that you're going to put onto that floor to create a success. So I think that, from a staffing standpoint, from a concept standpoint, I think I'm super proud of the team that we have here. And and if it wasn't for that L that we took, it wasn't a small amount of money. If it wasn't for that L that we took, we wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be in the position that we are now, trying to, open the next 50 of these in the next 5 years. I look up to my friends. I look up to anybody that's taking any type of risk. It's you read all these articles. One of the top 5 articles you read is about the top 5 people that you spend your top 5 minutes with. Top five, right? And you're like, but sitting down with my friends, magically all my friends are entrepreneurs, right? Some are extremely successful, like the ones we were just talking about, and then some are just grinding it out, and everybody has the same set of struggles, and everybody's going through the same amount of doubt, and everybody's going through the same amount of fear. But I think my friends, anytime that we get together, I leave with something, and I hope that I leave everybody that I'm with. So I think what social media and the internet and the accessibility that we've been able to get is, you don't have to look up to these traditional, inaccessible people. You can reach out to people like you or like me and easily access, and we're happy to help, because the more, and that's the world that we need to live in, right? So, anybody that's taking a risk, however big or small, as long as they keep taking those risks and get comfortable with the discomfort, is people that I admire. And it doesn't matter what you're doing or what you're selling or how much money you're making. It's the fact that you're putting yourself out there, and there's a really good shot that it's not going to work. I have two. The G-rated one is do whatever you can, wherever you are, with whatever you've got. And then the one that I tell to my friends that are going through like a rough patch, I'm like, look, nobody's going to want to fuck you if you don't want to fuck yourself.
Amazing.
Yeah.
End on that.